you don't increase, the cost for education increase anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, like the rain, they will come. Whether you've got the umbrella or not, let me tell you, the workers are negotiating salaries as we speak. Whether the fees increase or not, the workers will get their increase. The textbook companies are negotiating prices already. Whether you increase the fees or not, those prices of textbook will go up. The bus companies are doing the same thing. Whether you like it or not, the cost of petrol is going to go up. The private accommodation that we are negotiating for, whether you like it or not, whether the fees are increased or not, the university will pay more. The question then when you go to these negotiations is, how do you respond to those costs which are increasing? You must think about that. I'm not saying go for a 0% increase, but I'm saying, where do you do that? Because if you're an accountant, I know some of you are doing accounting. I'm doing accounting, like myself, I've got accounting for, you know. As an accountant myself, I know that you make choices as a manager. The choice is, if the income is not increased, what do? You cut the expenses. The expenses are going to be textbooks. The expenses are going to be the quality of services you get. The expenses are going to be the number of academics you have or the number of classrooms available for you. So those are the choices. But let's go back to that issue of what does the statement of Nzimande say as you go to these negotiations. This is what the statement of Nzimande says. It says everyone who qualifies for NSFAS, who's using the means test, all those people, the increase will be applied, which is 8%, but it won't go to the student. It means the university will get the money that was supposed to be for an increase. But if the university does not apply an increase, the university won't get that subsidy for an increase. That's what the statement of the minister says in simple terms. That's what they are talking about. That's why Nzimande said between 0 and 8%. If you choose to increase by 4%, and 4% is worth 4 million, I will give you 4 million. The student won't have to pay for that 4 million, but I'll give it to you as a university to cover your costs. But if you don't increase by 4%, that 4 million won't come. But those costs of petrol, of electricity will still be there. So that's the simple meaning of this thing. Then comrades have been asking questions, like critical questions. The question is, what then happens with the 10% of students who are foreign nationals? One has spoken about what happens to the 10% of the students whose parents are above 600,000. Like, one student asked a critical question, which I like. He says, if my parents are earning at least 600,000, but they've got 4 kids in higher education, how do they deal with that? The university has responded to that, to remember. They say they will apply the same means test for NSFAS, but at the threshold of 600,000, meaning that the more children you have in higher education, it means the 600,000 will be reduced by the amount of costs that you have. So it means this parent will not feel that impact. So the subsidy of government will cover that as well. That's what this thing of Nzimande says. The question that you have to answer when you go to that meeting is, should the university lose the 8% subsidy and not increase? Because if they don't increase by 8% or 6 or 4 or 2 or 1, it means that subsidy is not going to come. That's the decision of government. You must remember, it's a decision of government to say every university must analyze by what percent are they going to increase. This money, some students were asking a question, like for instance, they were saying, but no, it will increase my NSFAS test. No, it's not. It means if the university increased by 8%, that 8% balance is going to be a subsidy to the university. So those are the questions you must answer. I'm not saying demand 0 or 1 or 2. So if you demand 0, you must ask yourself a question. Where will the money to cover the increase of expenses come from? Let me tell you where it's going to come from. They are going to cut everything that you are currently entitled to. Student assistants are going to go. Gone. Because currently the university is spending 24 million per annum for student assistants. Because TUT has more than 3,000 student assistants. So if the university does not get any intervention of a subsidy. Those are easy things that are going to go. Number 2, all fixed-term contract workers are going to go. Number 3, the university is going to retrench. Last in, first out. The new guys that we've just hired are going to go. Number 4, 291 outsourced services workers that we've just integrated into the university are at risk. So the questions that you must ask yourself when you negotiate, you say, as much as we are arrogantly demanding free education, what then happens with these costs? So start thinking about that and then come and provide those solutions to the table. I'm not saying answer me now. I thought, let me just give information so that people can understand those implications. The problem with other people who are just saying, let's demand for the sake of demanding it, is that issue that Freddie spoke about, of saying that there are people who are having a specific agenda which has nothing to do with access to higher education, but they want government to fail so that they occupy the space, not to address the issues that students are troubled by. At TUT, if actually I was a student, this was going to be my proposal. My proposal was going to be, it's fine, increase with that subsidy, but let's talk about this 10% or 15% of students. I was going to, if I was a manager myself, at that level, I was not going to increase for that 10%. I was going to say 0 for that 10%, increase 8% for everyone who's covered by subsidy, and then that 8% we take subsidy, we pocket it, no student is impacted, those 15%, there's 0%. That will be my view. So, free education in a lifetime is important.